All right. Welcome to this week's World Alliance of Qara'im Torah study. It's down a little bit. I am your host, Hakham Melech ben Yaakov. You are currently looking at an image of Tel Aviv. It's not a live image, but it is an image. So, we're going to be in the Torah study. I thank you all for joining me. There are 3 ways to join, in case you don't already know. And the first way is here on StreamYard, streaming service. The second way is by YouTube, and the third way is through our Facebook page. Okay, and I post links usually on a lot of the different Facebook groups to inform people. So here we are, and here we go. Anything else that I want to say? No, I think we're going to dig right in. Please ask questions and leave comments as you wish. And let's do this. We're going to start by reading. We're going today from. So we go from Deuteronomy 21, basically 21 through 25. Okay, 21:10 through 25:19. As you know, I'm always looking for sources. So I was in the synagogue. There's a synagogue not far from me, and I go there because I'm Jewish and I love my fellow Jewish people. And even though they're not Karaite, I like being there. To be quite honest, I love it there. As a matter of fact, very welcoming community. And so I have to share the screen differently. Oh, you'll see when we do it. I'll explain when we do it. Basically, I added a new commentary to our study, which we can refer to. It's one that a lot of people know. It's the Sonsino. It's the the rabbi, I believe he was a rabbi, Dr. Rabbi Hertz. Yeah. A lot of people grew up, including myself, grew up with this copy of the Chumash, and I like his commentary. It's good stuff. So we can add that as a secondary commentary because we're always relying on Robert Alter, and Robert Alter is good. He's very good. I like it the way he does things, and he's a good starting point. But he's not the be all and the end all. I don't want to rely only on him, but it's a good starting point. It gets the conversation going. Okay, so all of that being said, let me turn off the music. And let me share the screen properly. And there we have it. Let me change this to this. Good. That. Maybe this is a little bit bigger. It's about the same size. I don't know. This, that's too small. This, that definitely doesn't work. We'll go with this. That's the way I've been doing it lately. Okay, so we are starting in Deuteronomy 21. Our parsha starts here in Deuteronomy 21:10, but I'll go back a little bit because we didn't finish off the parsha last week, and just to get a little bit of context. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of, now we're getting into a whole bunch of laws, basically. Okay, in Deuteronomy 20, we spoke about can be termed in no other terms than genocide. Yes, the Torah actually commands complete genocide against the Canaanite nations. Does that apply today? We won't even get into that. There are some who say it would, but certainly in the time when the Israelites enter the land of Israel, then there's a clear command in Deuteronomy 20 to kill them all. Not only to kill them all, to kill even the animals, men, women, children, animals. And then we have this very interesting statement about the trees. But don't kill the trees. What did they do? They didn't do anything, right? They're just innocent. Well, I don't know what the animals did either, but I guess they're kind of like somehow their souls were infected by the Canaanites. Okay, so we are now in Deuteronomy 21, and we'll start in Deuteronomy 21, verse 1. And by the way, if you don't like the Torah commends genocide, well, don't argue with me. Go argue with God, okay? Or go argue with your atheist buddies who will, or convince them how the Torah is not divine or whatever you want to do. Okay, but that's the bottom line. And it's not, I always like to put it in context because in all seriousness, right, genocide is not something that the Torah commands lightly, okay? But the Canaanites, it explains, actually, right? The Canaanites did all of these abominations, these disgusting things, including child sacrifice, right? They would sacrifice their children to Molech. They would burn their children in the fire. They did all kinds of bizarre, sexual immorality. Well, you can read about it in Leviticus 18 through 20. Okay, and the Canaanites were giving, the Amorites were given a lot of time. They were given 400 years by the time the promise was given to Abraham in Genesis 15. It says that your descendants will go down to Egypt for 400 years, right? That's really, if you work out the time, it's from the time of Abraham, right? And it says, I can't give you the land now because the sin of the Amorites is not yet complete. So the Amorites had 400 years to repent. Canaanites, the Amorites, and they didn't. Okay, they just kept on doing their hideous abominations, and so God decided it was time to wipe these people off the face of the earth, so there would not even be a memory of them. Which, if some other countries, such as the United States, doesn't change its way, that's probably what God's going to do to them as well. Although I am not a spokesman for God, so I can't tell you. All right, kimat halal be'adama, ki yimakse halal. באדמה אשר יחווה אלוהיך נותן לך לרשתה נופל בשדה לא נודע מי היכהו Okay, so when you find a dead body, halal is a hollowed out body. Halal means to hollow out. Halil is a flute. Okay, maybe the word hollow even comes from the word halal. Okay, I mean a lot of the etymologies, they always point us back to this, Proto-Indo-European blah 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 blah, and they always ignore possible links to Semitic languages, because a lot of these words can ultimately be traced back to Greek and Latin, and Greek and Latin were, not far, especially Greece and Italy as well. Had a lot of Semitic influence, right, in their language, in their writing system, that's for sure, their lettering system. Even to this day, for instance, Malta, which is between Sicily and Tunisia, they speak Maltese there, which is a Semitic language. Old Sicilian was a Semitic language, right?
No, we're talking about Siculo-Arabic.
Siculo-Arabic, where was that spoken?
In Sicily.
In Sicily.
It's an Arabic language or dialect.
Okay.
Not sure.
Okay.
Maltese is descended from Siculo-Arabic.
Maltese is descended from Siculo-Arabic. Okay, thank you. So, it's very possible that a lot of these words can ultimately be traced back to Semitic roots. So, let's ויעשו זקניך ושופטיך ומדדו אל הערים אשר סביבות החלל. I'm just going to read ahead. You can translate it for yourself in the English. והיה העיר הקרובה אל החלל ולקחו תקני העיר ההיא אילת בקר אשר לא עובד בה אשר לא משכה בעול. So basically, they have to measure, right, from this dead body. This dead body is found out in the field, right? It's in the sadeh. So where's the sadeh? The sadeh in ancient times basically was, what that basically means is, well, you had cities, you had walled cities, and then you had farmland, right? And so it's not too different from today, where you have urban areas and rural areas, right? So it's the same idea here, right? So they're going to measure to the nearest city. The people of that city have to bring a eglat bakar. Okay. So here's our word eglah. Let me see if I added this. I believe this is in our list of animal words. Let's see if I have it here. If not, I'm going to add it right now. So we have egel. We have eglah. Oh, I don't know why I didn't see. It's also Deuteronomy. Just let me do one big thing. Deuteronomy 12:15. Just check something here for a second. So that is also 12:15. Sorry about that. I just want to be thorough here. Deuteronomy 12:15. So then we have the word eglah. Okay, so we have egel, which is a baby calf. Okay, so I guess really, and this list, if I see something wrong, I'll always update it. So really, I guess an egel would be specifically a male, and eglah is going to be a female. Okay, and I don't have eglah anywhere, do I? Let me just check. So I don't see eglah anywhere. I see egel. So let me modify this and change this to female. Sorry, to male. Then we're going to add the word here, eglah. So that is a young of the herd. So egel, we have here is really egla. So egla is a heifer, female of egel. Let's just make sure that we're talking about a male calf, right? That could actually be the general for male or female again. Maybe I should leave it male or female. I should probably do that just male or female. No, we'll leave it as male. So egla, we have here. So here's our egla. This is found in Deuteronomy 21:3. So this is Deuteronomy 21:3. And we have a heifer. So what the heck is a heifer? Let's just get our definitions clear. Okay. In farming, a cow that has not born a calf or has born only one calf. So basically it's a baby female, right? A cow is a female, right? Is not born a calf. So it's basically a baby female cow. So that's the way we're going to mark it here. Okay. So translation is going to be a heifer. Okay. Or let's do it this way. Maybe I should do exactly calf. This is going to be female instead of male. Age, young. Species is going to be of the herd, like an egel. And I think that's it. I don't have any comments to say about that. So that's our egla. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else to add here. From the same as egel, a male calf, is frisking around, especially one nearly grown this year. Okay. Bullock calf. All right. So there we go. So egla is going to be, so the people have to bring in eglat bakar, so the calf of the herd. Okay. Right. So we also have bakar in our list. Okay, bakar is the herd, so that's going to be cattle, bulls or cows, right? Okay, so maybe I should put it here. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. Okay, so they're going to bring this baby female cow, right? Sherlo mubad ba. That was never used for work. Lo mubad ba, right? Sherlo mashcha ba'ol. That she did not pull with a yoke. Okay, so she's never worked. There's never been a yoke placed upon her. Okay, we have some comments. Shabbat shalom. Tiny flying dragons. I am Sicilian. All my great grandparents all came from there. Amazing, great, excellent, very nice. Okay, so maybe they spoke. Well, when did that language in Sicily stop being spoken? Is it still spoken there today? Not at all, huh? Sicilian Italian. And Sicilian is a variant of Italian, right? Yeah, but it's Romance language, right? Okay. All right. So, okay. So verse 4. Wah uridu saknei ha'ir hahi et la et ha gla el lahal etan asher lo ya'aved bo v'lo izarea ויערפו שם את העגלה בנחל. Okay, So they're going to take now this, the elders of the city are going to take this young cow, this baby cow, heifer, to a nachal etan. So a nachal etan is a nachal is a, it's usually translated as, let's see how they translate here. A valley. No, that's not a good translation. It's basically what it is a wadi. It's a stream, okay? But nachal etan is a stream that is a non-intermittent in dry climates such as Israel. You'll have some wadis that they flow throughout the year, and other wadis that are intermittent. In the dry season, they stop flowing. So Nachal Eitan is a river that's constantly flowing. Curious to see. Let's see how Robert Alter translates that one. So this is Deuteronomy 21. Okay, so Deuteronomy 21. Okay, to a swift running wadi. That's the way he translates it. Let's get some commentary here. Okay, in all likelihood, this refers to a wadi that is filled with a powerful torrent during the rainy season and would not provide suitable terrain along its banks for cultivation. The wadi thus is a wilderness water source outside the pale of regular civilized undertakings, and therefore a suitable setting for the site of expiation for an unsolved crime against humanity. Interesting. Okay, let's see how Everett Fox translates that one. Where did I stick Everett Fox? There he is. So that's Deuteronomy 21. So he doesn't say a Nachal Eitan is necessarily, maybe by extension, is a is a permanent wadi, but it's not the underlying meaning of it. It's just a very strong running wadi, which makes more sense to me, actually. Someone told me that Nachal Eitan, a long time ago, someone told me Nachal Eitan means a wadi that flows all of the year. So I'm not 100% sure that is the basic definition. Let's see what Everett Fox does here. Numbers, Deuteronomy. Getting close. 20, 21. Let's up a little bit more. Okay, so this is a she-calf. What did I put here? Calf baby, good enough. Oops. To an ever-flowing wadi. So that's how Everett Fox translates it. So he does translate it as a wadi that flows throughout the entire year, okay, which has never had work done on it and has never been sown, and will break the neck of the she-calf there in the wadi. Okay, let's see how, just for the heck of it, let's bring in our new commentary. So again, if you ever grew up in a kind of a, well, my parents went to conservative synagogue growing up, and this was the chumash that we used, and I know many people have used this chumash, and I like it. It has good commentary. So let's see if we can find now Deuteronomy 21 and see how, is it Rabbi Hertz? I guess he must be a rabbi. Oops, that's not what I meant to do, is it? Oh boy. Let's try that again. Okay. Oops. So here's Deuteronomy 22. No, that's not Deuteronomy 22. That's Deuteronomy 13. Let's see. Deuteronomy 16. Deuteronomy 19. Deuteronomy 21. Here we go. So here's our verse. Okay. What? Oh, that's off Torah. Okay, so Deuteronomy 21. Okay, so we have it here. I can't highlight the actual words because it's not text; it's a picture. But if you look here in verse 4, okay, Nachaletan. So Rabbi Hertz translates it as into a rough valley, which may neither be plowed nor sown. Rough valley. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So we got a lot of different translations. A nachal, let's see what the BDB gives us for nachal, a brook, right? So that's what I know it as, of course. So let's go with I'm going to go with then a strong wadi or a non-intermittent, an ever-flowing wadi. Let's go with Everett Fox and say ever-flowing wadi. Okay, but this is great. This is the way we learn about different words, right? We check out what different commentators have to say. We examine the evidence and we try to come up with our best understanding. Okay, let's move on then. So this wadi also, so just as the female calf, lo ubad ba asher lo mashqa be'ol. Okay, so there was never any work done with her. She was never used for work. Okay, so the wadi itself, asher lo ya'abed bo. Okay. Which cannot be, basically lo ya'abed, literally it's the future tense, will not be worked. Asher lo ya'abed bo. There will not be work done in it, is basically what that's trying to say. Okay, but it means that there cannot be work done in it, because the future tense in Hebrew expresses not just the pure future; it expresses a lot of different I don't know the correct phrase is moods, but different, shall we say, well, I don't know if it's exactly moods. It might be a mood. I'm not sure what the technical term is, but not. It doesn't necessarily talk about the future, but it talks about what may not be able to be, what we hope would be, what we wish would be. It all depends on the context, right? So asher lo ya'abed bo means which it literally means which will not be, there will not be, it will not be worked, or it cannot be worked. Okay, but it means, it means literally there will not be work done in it, but the idea is there cannot be work done in it. Okay, velo yizara, and will not be seeded or not be planted. Okay, there will not be seed planted in it because there cannot be seed planted in it. V'arfu sham et agila v'nachal, and there they arfu, that comes from the word oref. Oref is oref is the neck. So arfu means to break the neck. Okay. So they're going to break this. They're going to break this baby calf's neck. Okay. Shamat agla v'nachal. They do that. So they do this unworked calf in this unworked stream, a stream that cannot be worked. And we have a body that has been found out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. They measure to the nearest city, and then the elders of that city go down and, oops, 1 second, please. The elders of that city go down and they're the one who performed the ceremony, because the body was found in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't found in the city. So they basically they blame, shall we say, or the burden falls upon the nearest city. Okay. Okay, verse 5. Wa nikshu hakohanim bnei Lewi kibam bahar Yahweh Eloheinu Elohecha לשרתו ולברך בשם יחווה ועל פיהם יהיה כל הריב B'chol naga. Okay, well, this is interesting. Okay, so now the Kohanim come close. B'nei Lewi. Nikshu Kohanim b'nei Lewi. Okay, so they're the ones. So now they approach. Why? So now we have a little bit of a tangent. The Torah loves to go on tangents. Sometimes it can go on tangents for a sentence, 2 sentences, 3 sentences, an entire paragraph. Sometimes an entire chapter can be a tangent. Okay. So why did the Levites, the Kohanim, the sons of Levi, okay, come close? So now we get this little side note, okay, because Yahweh chose them, Yahweh your God chose them to serve Him and to bless in the name of Yahweh. And by their mouths will be, or literally the implication here is, will be decided any arguments, and any nega would be like how would you translate that into English? Any maybe physical violence. Okay, so this is very interesting. We've seen this very idea before. Can anyone tell me where we've seen this very idea before? I think it was in fact in last week's Parsha. Let's take a look for a second in Deuteronomy 17. Deuteronomy 17:9, which I mentioned was one of the canonical verses used in Karaite polemics. So shall we say when the Rabbinites want to argue against the Karaites for their own supremacy, for their own ability to lead Israel, they always point to this verse, Deuteronomy 17. Okay, and what does it say here? We read this last week. Ubat el kohanim haliwiim. Okay, so they come to the Kohanim, the priests, the Levitical priests. Okay, and that basically is the same way of saying this here. Okay, here it says Kohanim b'nei Lewi, the Kohanim who are the descendants of Levi, who are from the tribe of Levi, and here it says Kohanim Lewiim. This just means the Levitical priests, meaning the Kohanim from the tribe of Levi, from the descendants of who are the descendants of Levi. Wa'el shofet, and to the judge asher yeh biyamim ahem, who will be in those days. Okay, biyamim ahem. This is the phrase that the rabbis use as a polemic against the Karaites. They say we don't go by. They say that the rabbis are the judges in our days, and so therefore they have the right. You go to the judge in your day. The rabbi are the judges in our day. They're talking about Talmudic times or now. The rabbis are the judges by Yamim Ahem in those days, in our days, and so therefore they have the right to judge the nation. There's so much wrong with that line of argumentation that it would take a while to refute, but in detail. But in short, well, oh boy, I don't want to get started. In short, yes, the judges have the right to decide cases, but they decide the cases based on the Torah. That does not give them the right to change the Torah. That's number one. Number two, who appointed the rabbis leaders over Israel, except for the rabbis themselves? They're the ones who appointed themselves over Israel. So I always like to use the analogy. If I were to grab a bunch of friends and we were to take a whole bunch of guns and rush up to the Temple Mount and take over the Temple Mount and set up court there and declare ourselves judges over the nation, does that now mean that we are judges based on Deuteronomy 17:9? Just because I'm sorry, I should have mentioned also, right? It says, so you have to go to the place which God chose, meaning that is a reference to what eventually was revealed as Jerusalem, as the Temple Mount. So if I and a gang go up there and take over the Temple Mount, and we start judging the people from the Temple Mount just because we took it over by force, does that now give us the Torah? Does the Torah law now support us in because of Deuteronomy 17:9? Are we now the judges in those days? I don't think so. Right? There has to be some choice of judge, and we see in the Tanakh, in the Nach part of the Tanakh, and in the Torah, right? We see that it's God who's choosing the judges. If you read through the book of Judges, right, you'll see that these judges are hand chosen by God and their prophets. Okay, in later times, okay, after Samuel died and or quite died, but when Israel got a king, then the kings were not prophets. They may have had dreams, but they were not prophets. But they had access to prophets, and prophets were the ones who chose the kings. The prophet chose Shaul. The prophet dethroned Shaul and chose David in his place, etc. Even some of the evil kings were chosen by the prophets, right? So basically, it's punishment to Israel, or to give them what they give them their just desserts, to give them what they want, right? So that's another aspect of a judge. A judge cannot just be someone who just rushes up to the Temple Mount and says, "Okay, I'm the judge in the days because I've taken over the Temple Mount." The judge has to be someone who is appointed directly by God, right, through prophecy. Either he's a prophet himself or he's appointed through prophecy. And then on top of it, the rabbis don't sit on the Temple Mount. So that's that, okay? They don't, in fact, most of them don't even allow you to go up to the Temple Mount. They say you shouldn't go up to the Temple Mount. So there's so much to say about this. There's so much to say about this, but this is a verse, Deuteronomy 17:9, that is usually used because of this phrase, Biyamim Ahem, as a polemic against the Karaites, saying that we rabbis, we quote unquote, we rabbis, we have the Torah gives us the authority to rule. Okay. At any rate, the point being here that we see this this phrase again. Okay, we see here that, okay, let me go on verse, Deuteronomy 17:8. Ki yipaleh mincha davar lemishpat. So when something is too difficult to judge, okay, and what kind of judgments? Ben dam dam, ben din ledin, ben nega lenega, divrei ribot misharecha. Okay, so dam ledam literally means blood, between blood and blood. Okay, din ledin means judgment, or I guess you would say judgment and judgment. Nega, no one knows exactly what these mean in their context. Nega, I've seen assault, I've seen punishment, right? Divrei ribot b'sharecha, matters of dispute or matters of sichsuk. How would you say that in English? Matters of conflict in your gates, and again, gates is always as opposed to the place, Jerusalem. So basically, among your, among the people, if you have these different types of arguments, okay, well, this is the same phraseology we have right here, okay? So let's look at this, okay? Ben dam ledam, ben din ledin, ben nega lednega, divrei ribot b'sha'arecha. That's Deuteronomy 17:8. Here we have, okay, Nikshu Kohanim, the Kohanim, b'nei Lewi, the Kohanim who are of the tribe of Levi, who are descendants of Levi, okay, Levi. Kibam b'char Yahweh Elohecha, because God chose, your God, Yahweh, your God chose them to lisharto, to serve Him. Levarech b'shem Yahweh. We know we have the Levitical blessing, word for word, one of the word for word things that we must, speeches that must be given in the Torah, right? There are a couple of things that must be said word for word, like when the Kohanim bless the people, like when you bring the basket of the first fruits and you say Arami Oved Avi, right? There's a whole phrase there that you say, okay? Al piyam ye'eh kol riv kol nega, okay? So they serve God, they bless the people, and al pihem, and by their decision, ye'eh kol riv kol nega, shall be every dispute and every punishment, if we want to translate it that way. Here we have riv and nega. Here in Deuteronomy 17, we have dam, din, nega, and riv, ribot. So we have nega and riv here, and we have nega and riv here, right? So this does a couple of things, okay? This shows because in Deuteronomy 17:9, when you have these disputes, okay, it says that you go to the Kohanim, Halewiim, okay? Well, El Shofet, you go to two groups. You go to the Kohanim, okay? It's not three groups. It's not the Kohanim, Halewiim, El Shofet. It's HaKohanim, Halewiim, the Levitical priests, and the judge, okay? Those are the ones who judge over Israel, the Kohanim and the judge. Okay, and so the question becomes: can both the Kohanim and the judge? And when we're talking about the judge, we're talking about the head judge, right? So, for instance, think of Gideon, or think of Deborah, if you want, or think of Shmuel, Samuel, right? These were all the head judges over Israel. Okay, so when it says dam, din, nega, and ribot, which ones apply? Because we have the Kohanim and the Shofet. Which ones apply to the Kohanim and which ones apply to the Shofet? There are 4 types of disputes that can be solved. Okay, first one dam, the second one din, the third one nega, the fourth one rivot. Okay, so maybe, I don't know, maybe the Kohanim, Halewiim, the Levitical priests, take the first 2, dam and din, and the Shofet take the next 2. Okay, nega and ribot. But honestly, the point I'm trying to make here is because some people say nega has to do with because nega is also a word for a plague, right? We remember in the book of Leviticus that we went into great detail about tzara'at, about what is usually translated as leprosy. Better translation I always say is scale disease. It means like the skin scaling off or flaking off, probably, right? And so that also is a nega. So some would say that this applies to the Kohanim because they're the ones who have anything to do with leprosy. Okay. So let's say the Kohanim deal with nega. Does the judge get to deal with nega? Well, if you understand nega as having to do with issues of purity and impurity, or becoming pure from a infection by a leprous infection, then that would only go to the Kohanim Lewi'im. Okay, but if you understand nega as punishment or an assault case, then oh boy, and then that would I'm sorry, I just got a very funny message. And then that would apply to everyone, right? Or that would apply maybe to the Shofet. The point is nothing here among these words to imply necessarily that we're talking about purity versus impurity, which would go to the Kohanim, and then let's say din ledin, or dam ledam. Let's say maybe dam ledam. You could also say has to do with the emission of blood, which maybe also would be purity versus impurity. Let's go din ledin. Okay, judgments, which may go to the shofet, to the judge. All right. So is there a breakdown here? Well, I think Deuteronomy 21 actually illuminates that it's not, because here we have that the Kohanim Lewi'im, or Kohanim B'nai Lewi, they also deal with Riv. Okay, Riv is a controversy or conflict. Okay, so you would think here, well, that doesn't have to do. That would be the Shofet would be dealing with the Rivot, and not the Lewi'im. But here we see it's the Lewi that deals with the Riv. Okay, Kohanim B'nai Lewi, they deal with Kol Riv or Kol Nega. Well, this is kind of a technical point I'm making, but the point I basically want to make is that this illuminates the meaning of this by saying that when it says Dam Ledam, Din Ledin, Divrei Ribot B'Sharecha, okay, that these are all just different types of disputes. It's probably not speaking about issues of purity and impurity, okay, which we know in such a case for sure you would go to the Kohanim, okay, but because the Ribot definitely doesn't have to do with purity and impurity issues, okay, but yet here we have the Ribot being taken care of, okay, Riv being taken care of. Here the Shofet is not mentioned, okay. Here, the only thing that's mentioned is the Kohanim. So the Kohanim can take care of a Riv, which implies that these are not issues of ritual purity and impurity, and therefore, for all cases, these are talking about basically disputes between people. It's just that we know we've seen this many times that the Torah can repeat things, and it can use different words to emphasize or to give different aspects. It's kind of like coming at it from different angles to kind of describe or emphasize, right? So that's what's going on here. So this in a sense goes to say that if you have any kind of that these have nothing to do necessarily with purity versus impurity issues, which would only be in the province of the Kohanim, right? They're the ones who back in the book of Leviticus deal with all these issues of tzarat, or issues in general of purity and impurity, right? That these are actually words just describing different types of conflicts between people, and that you can go therefore either to the Kohen or to the Shofet. They're on equal standing, okay? The Kohanim, why? Because as we see here in Deuteronomy 21, because God chose them to serve him, etc. And the Shofet, because he is a prophet, or he is in the afterwards in the time of Kings, he has direct access to a prophet, okay? So that's kind of the point I wanted to make there. Let's move on. Any questions, any comments? I hope that was clear. It's kind of a technical point, shall we say. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. So let me close up. Six. And we're not even up to this week's parsha. I know I always do this. Very bad. This week's parsha starts in verse 10. Okay. So the Kohanim come by, right? So we have now three people involved in this whole thing of this dead, this corpse that was found in the middle of nowhere, right? Kind of reminds me of like a mafia hit, right? You can take someone out in the middle of the desert, or I don't know, Meadowlands, the swamps and the Meadowlands in New Jersey, and in the middle of nowhere, and you kill them, right? So maybe that's even referring to that kind of thing. The implication here being that this is kind of like there's something very nefarious going on here, because the person didn't even have the decency to murder him, and the other person in broad daylight, they dragged him out in the middle of nowhere and murdered him there. So it's almost like they're trying to hide what they've done. That's how bad it is, right? So, but we have here who are involved here. Okay, so we have first of all the zikanecha. We have the elders, shoftecha. Okay, so they're the ones who go out and they measure the distance, and then the elders of the city, they go down and they break the neck of the baby female calf, the heifer. Okay. And actually, they do it here. Okay. Now we have the Kohanim get into the picture. Okay. And what are they going to do? Okay. And all the elders of the city. So now we've got the Kohanim, the judges, and the elders in the picture. Akrovim el halal. Okay. Okay, so all of the elders of the nearest city, actually, akrovim probably modifies ziknei, so the nearest elders that are in the city, but the implication is the elders from the nearest city. Okay, yirchatzu et yadehem. So now these elders, okay, the ones who had brought down who had measured and brought down the female calf, female baby calf. So they wash their hands. Yirchatzu et yadehem al ha'ela arufa benachel. Upon the baby calf, the heifer with the broken neck in the stream. So what the heck does that mean? What does it mean they wash their hands on the baby calf in the stream? So we have this kind of coming together of the elders, the baby calf that was never worked, and the river that was never worked, for a body that was found in the middle of nowhere in a place that was never worked, right? So this whole thing coming together, this theme of this wilderness place, or this place that is not tamed. Okay, well, it doesn't mean they literally wash their hands on top of them. I don't think. I'm going to look at some of the commentaries, but when it says ala igla arufa banachal, it probably just means in the presence. So maybe they put the baby calf in the unworked baby calf in the unworked stream, and then they wash their hands in the stream, right? let's see. Let's check out some of the commentaries. But let's move on. Yeah, let's check out the commentaries. So this is verse 6. Okay, we'll go to Robert Alter, see what he has to say about this one. So he doesn't say anything. Let's get his translation at least. So, and all the elders of that town, the ones close to the corpse, shall wash their hands over the broken-necked heifer in the wadi. So over the broken-necked heifer in the wadi. Okay, fine. Let's check our new commentary. This Socino Press Hertz, Dr. Rabbi. I'll call him Dr. Rabbi. I know he's a doctor. Hertz. Dr. Rabbi. There he is. Okay. 1872 to 1946 was a British rabbi and biblical scholar. He held the position of chief rabbi of the United Kingdom from 1913 until his death in 1946 and appeared in comments in both world wars in the Holocaust. Okay. So he moved around a lot. Okay. So, but that is the guy. So, despite the final rabbinical authority, even in Britain, while he was chief rabbi of the group of synagogues known as the United Hebrew Congregations of the British Empire, led by the United Synagogue, a minority of new immigrants who had arrived since the 1880s regarded it insufficiently orthodox. Hertz tried both persuasion and such force as he can muster to influence them. He added to his credibility among these immigrants by persuading Rabbi Yecheskel Abramsky to become head of the London Beit Din, etc., etc. Okay. He antagonized others by his strong support for Zionism in the 1920s and 1930s, when many Jews were against it. At any rate, I'll leave this later, but yes, he was a doctor, I'm pretty sure, meaning a PhD. So let's see here. Yeah, we'll call him Dr. Rabbi or Rabbi Dr. Hertz. Okay, so let's see what he has to say. Okay, so again, I can't really highlight here unless I can draw on the screen. Let's see how I can do that. I don't think I can here. No, I can't draw on the screen. Oh, wait, maybe just this, but I don't think it's going to come up. I doubt that's going to work. Let's see something. Okay. At any rate, you'll just have to follow along. I'll say where I'm looking at. Okay. So let's read for verse. So this is verse 2, okay? So it says, thy elders of the towns in the vicinity, thy judges, each village would naturally desire to get rid of the responsibility of providing a heifer, and its elders would be apt to exaggerate the distance between their home and the body. Hence, the presence of the judges was required as arbiters and overseers, that all matters connected with the measurement and resultant responsibility are equitably settled. Okay, that's an interesting idea, okay? So that was on the right column next to number 2. Okay, interesting. So where are we getting the judges from? Maybe the judges are coming from Jerusalem, or maybe the judge in that village. Not clear. Okay, verse 3: not been wrought with, i.e., not been used for plowing or subjected to any forced labor, and therefore unprofaned by common use. Verse 4: rough valley, literally a strong valley, a rough, uncultivated, unfrequented territory with a perennial brook. So that's the word I was looking for, as opposed to an intermittent. There's a perennial brook. That's a brook that runs even in the summertime, during the dry season. Its running water would carry away the blood of the heifer, and thus symbolize the removal of the defilement from the land. I like that. Interesting. The rabbi's explanation of these ceremonies is: let the heifer which has never produced fruit be killed in a spot which has never produced fruit, to atone for the death of a man who was debarred through being prematurely made to die from producing fruit. According to Maimonides, the object of this rite was to assist in the discovery of the murderer by the publicity attending the performance thereof. That's a very Maimonides kind of thing to say, very logical. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a symbolic way. I think it's as Rabbi Hertz says here, its running water would carry away the blood of the heifer and thus symbolize the removal of defilement from the land. Okay, interesting stuff. So let's see here. I guess that's all he has to say about that. Right. Okay, cool. That's all he has to say about that, because this goes down now to verse 6. Where's verse 7? I'm confused. 834. Oh, we're missing pages. How is that? 34, 35. Ah, 37, 836. This is very confusing. It's out of order. Okay, well, let's see here. Oh boy. All right. So he says about the priests, their presence is to impart a religious character to the ceremony. Let's look for page 835. There it is. I don't know what the heck it's doing there. So he goes on to say, wash their hands. I'm looking now in the left column where it says 6, right? Wash their hands. Innocent blood shed by violence sticks to the hands of the murderer, and all the seas cannot wash away its stain. It is otherwise with those who, the actual murderer being unknown, are held to be only morally responsible for the crime. In their case, the washing of the hands is a symbolic act to disown the community's guilt. No trace of the symbolic action is found in Greek or Roman life. All right. So that's it. I think we've kind of exhausted some of the commentary there. So let's go on to the next verse, okay? Anu. So the elders are now going to say, Anu ve'amru. Okay, so now here's something that they have to say. This is another example of a scripted sentence that you have to say in the Torah. We already gave 2 examples: the prayer, the blessing of the Levites of the Kohanim for the people of Israel, and when you bring the basket of first fruits, then the statement about my father was a wandering Aramaean, or my father was destroyed by an Aramaean, or was harassed by an Aramaean. At any rate, now you say, Yadenu lo shachu et hadam hazeh wa anenu lo ra'u. Okay? And I think this implies that this is said word for word, because ve'anu ve'amru. Okay, they'll answer and say, and this seems from the context here that this is an actual phrase that they're saying. Okay, which means our hands did not spill this blood, and our eyes did not see. Okay, let's get some commentary on that one. So we go to Robert Alter. In this formula, so he obviously sees it as a formula, okay, of exculpation, the elders declare that both that they, presumably this includes everyone in the community they represent, have not committed the murder, and that they have not witnessed it, and so have no knowledge of the killer's identity. Okay, Hertz has to say about this one. Okay, so speak, he says, I'm looking here at number 7, speak, respond liturgically. So that also means he believes that it's a formula, it's formulaic. Why don't you let that cat go?
She was outside.
Just let her be. Okay. Our hands, ... eyes. Could it possibly occur to anyone to suspect the elders of murder? No. By this avowal, the elders of the town declare he did not come to us hungry, and we failed to feed him. He did not come to us friendless. Failed to befriend him Sifri. Well, that's nice, but that's really not what it is. It's kind of midrash. Thus did the rabbis bring home to the people the great principle of mutual responsibility and moral interdependence of men in class. Okay, that's just a rabbinical kind of midrash on it. Okay, so but the is that both Robert Alter and Rabbi Joseph Hertz agree that this is a formulaic, right? That this is said word for word. Yadenu lo shafcha. Lo shafchu et adam hazeh v'anenu lo ra'u. Our hands did not spill this blood, and our eyes did not see. Okay. Verse 8. Chaper le'amcha Yisrael. This is a continuation of what is said. Okay. Chaper le'amcha Yisrael asher padita Yahweh wa'al titen dam naqi b'kerev amcha Yisrael wa nikaper lahem adam. Okay. So kaper le'amcha Yisrael, atone, right? Kaper, like Yom Kippurim, right? Same word exactly. Okay, atone for your people. And I don't like the word atone. It's a very, very, very poor choice of words. I like to use the word more like, if you read my article on Karaite Insights about Yom Kippurim and what it is, it means forget the bad deeds of, is really what it means, or just ignore the bad deeds of. Forget. I'm going to go with forget. Cover over. Because again, we saw that kaper is related to the underlying root is kafar, which means to cover. So cover over your eyes and do not see the bad deeds. That's really the way to translate kaper. Cover over your eyes and do not see the bad deeds of your people Israel. Asher padita Yahweh, okay, who you redeemed, Yahweh. So Yahweh, cover over your eyes. Do not see the bad deeds of your people Israel, who you redeemed. Okay, so really this Yahweh really should go at the beginning here. Okay. Al titen dam naki b'kerev amcha Israel. Okay, and do not literally give clean blood in the midst of Israel. But I think what this is referring to is don't blame those who are blameless. Dam naki basically means blood that doesn't deserve to be spilled, clean blood. Okay, but the implication here is don't blame us. Okay, atone for your people who you redeemed, and do not blame innocent people within your people Israel. In other words, this is what the elders are saying. We're innocent. We have nothing to do with this, right? That's exactly what this is trying to say. When you compare lehem adam. Okay, so let's get a little bit of commentary here. So let's first of all look at Robert Alter's translation. Okay. Okay. Our hands did not shed this blood. Our eyes did not see. Atone for your people. For your people Israel, whom you ransomed. Redeemed, but yeah, ransomed is another translation for that. Okay. And do not put innocent blood in the midst of your people Israel, and let the blood be atoned for them. As for you, you shall root out the innocent blood from your midst, for you shall do what is right in the Lord's eyes. Okay, so let's get a little commentary on that. Well, we read that already. Shall we look here? So verse 8, he says this is spoken by the priests. They asked forgiveness because the people of the vicinity had sinned in failing adequately to safeguard the roads against danger. Ibn Ezra. Verse 9, so shalt thou put away. If the murderer is discovered after the ceremony had been performed, he must be put to death. Then shalt thou be doing that which is right in the eyes of the Lord. Innocent blood, which cries for vengeance against the murderer. Okay, so I guess dam naki. So I'm going to revise that a little bit. So dam naki is referring, I guess, to the innocent blood, the clean blood, the innocent blood that of the person that was murdered that was spilled. Okay, so let's reread this. Okay, so continuing what the elders say. Okay. And first of all, it says, they answer and they say. So I guess the implication here is right, Anuva Amru. So it's basically we have the Kohanim Bnei Lewi, the Kohanim, are saying this phrase, this formula, which starts here, okay? Starts here. And then, وَعَنُوا بِأَمْرُوا. And then the elders are answering and saying. So that it's basically the Levites are, the Kohanim are reading out the formula, and then the elders are repeating afterwards, okay? So repeat after me. Yadeinu lo shafchu et hadam hazeh. Our hands did not spill this blood. V'ainenu lo ra'u, and our eyes did not see. Kaper le'amcha Yisrael asher padita Yahweh. Atone or cover over the sins of your people Israel, who you redeemed, Yahweh. Al titen dam naki b'kerev amcha. And do not allow innocent blood to be placed within your people Israel. So this innocent blood means, again, I'm revising what I said before, it means the blood of that innocent person that was murdered, right? Because we're talking about the assumption is that they were murdered, right? Not that there was some just reason they were killed, right? So according to the commentaries, this dam naki is talking about the blood, that innocent blood that was spilled of that person that was murdered. Okay, but kerev amcha Yisrael, okay? Unichaper lahem hadam. Well, that's, let me get a translation on that one. That's 8. And let the blood be atoned for them. Okay. Nichaper lahem hadam. Okay, well that's interesting because let me just think about this for a second. Yeah. Okay, I guess that works. So nichaper. Nichaper. I'm not sure if this is kind of a weird grammatical phrase. So to atone is, as we see here, kaper. It's in the PL form. Okay, lichaper. So the passive of the PL, right, is the pu'al. So if I want to say ani, let's say I teach, ani milamed is I teach, okay, and I am taught is ani milumad, okay, and in the future, if I want to say, let's say he will be taught or I will be taught. We'll go with he. It's easier to say. Hu yilumad. Okay. So to make a long story short, I'm just trying to think grammatically where that would fit in. Just 1 second. Okay, I don't want to go down that road right now. We'll just forget it. I'm going to look it up for myself later. Okay. وَنِخَپَرْ لَهَمْ hadam. So, okay, we'll just go with Robert Alter's translation. Let the blood be atoned for them. Okay? Let me just think about this for 1 second here. So, nichaper. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. Lehem hadam. Let's go on. I'll have to check for myself later. Okay. Verse 9. Ve'ata tivaer hadam hanaki mikirbecha ki ta'aseh hayashar be'enei Yahweh. Okay. And you will burn away this innocent blood from your midst. Ki ta'aseh yashar be'enei Yahweh. Okay. By doing that which is right, or as Robert Alter translated, as for you, you shall root out the innocent blood from your midst, for you shall do what is right in the Lord's eyes. Okay? So I guess this, you're going to get rid of it by doing that which is right in God's eyes, is referring to this entire ceremony, right? Okay? And that brings us to the end of last week's parsha. And now I'm going to go for about another half an hour, 45 minutes at the most. Now, this is the beginning of this week's parsha, Teitzei. Just give me 1 second. I want to see one thing. No, I'm gonna, okay. All right, so now let's go on to another subject. This is another law that the Torah speaks about how to deal with a captive woman, okay, a woman that has been captured in war. And what we have here is in verse 10. First of all, any questions, any comments about what we've spoken about so far? Anybody? Yes, no, maybe so? Okay, then we're going to go on. We're going to move on. And so we have here, so now we're in Deuteronomy 21:10. Ki tetzei lemilchama al oivecha. When you go out to war upon your enemies, we nitano Yahweh Elohecha biyadecha we shavita shivyo. So when you go to war upon your enemies, Winitano Yahweh Elohecha biyadecha, and Yahweh your God literally gives him into your hands. Okay, so this is interesting because we see again something which is grammatical. So oivecha is your enemies. Okay, and here, and that's in the plural. Okay, so oivim is enemies. Okay, oyev is singular, and the plural is oivim. Let's look at that for a second. Okay, so if you're plural, the singular oyev, the plural is oivim. Okay, and oivecha means your plural enemies. Okay, your enemies. Okay, but then it says here, "Tano Yahweh Elohecha biyadcha." Okay, and God gives him or it. That's the singular. God gives it singular, or God gives the enemy singular. Yahweh your God into your hands. Okay, shavita shivyo, and you take captive. You take a captive. Okay. Well, again, here we have plural. So it'd be like me saying well, I'll translate. I don't have to. If you go to war against your enemies and God gives it into your hands, God gives what? One of the enemies into your hands, but that's not really what's going on here. Okay. The point is that the Torah often will interchange, sometimes in the same sentence as it does here, between plural and singular. Okay. So how can it do that? Well, the plural here, even though it's in the plural, it says your enemies. Enemies is really kind of an abstract concept. Okay. And so it can be either plural or singular. Okay, here it's rendered in the plural, and here it's really rendered in the singular. Okay, so if we were to be grammatically consistent and stick with the plural, let's say it would say Ki teitzei lemilchama oivecha minitanam Yahweh Elohecha biyadecha. Okay, give them, but it doesn't say give. It doesn't say give them. It says give it. Give one. Over into your hands, okay? But the point is that when we're talking about, the point is that the Torah can switch between number, even in the same sentence, okay? And I guess there could be a couple of reasons for that. You could say that this is talking about all your enemies, and God is, when you go to war against your enemies, and God gives one of them over to you into your hands. That's one possible way translate it. God gives one in your hands, okay, and you take a captive, okay. Or another way to look at it would be that when you go to war against your enemies, that this when it says your enemies, it's speaking about the collective, like a people, like a certain nation that's made of many people, and they're all your enemies. And then when it says here nitano, when God gives it into your hands, it's speaking about that people now as a collective whole, as a single whole, right? But again, the point being that we're switching back and forth between, it's not grammatically consistent, right? So a lot of people who are not versed in the Torah are going to make all kinds of big deals about this. They'll either say that I don't know if they'll say it comes from different sources because it's in the same sentence, but they'll say that maybe it's a scribal error, or they'll say the more likely, really, what's going to happen is the rabbis will come along, or Rashi will come along and pick up on this inconsistency and come up with some crazy midrash, which is supposed to give us some secret knowledge because of this inconsistency. But it's not an inconsistency; it's a misunderstanding of the way biblical Hebrew works. Okay, so there are two examples. There are probably more ways we can parse these two words together. Okay, but let's go with oivecha. Let's go with the second one, where oivecha represents your enemies, meaning all. Let's say you go against the Moabites, and there are 500,000 Moabites. So it's in plural here. It's talking about the 500,000 Moabites. Unitano Yahweh, and God gives it. He's talking about Moab, right? The entire collective as a single, right? So here it's plural. Here it's in the singular. They don't match. And we have to understand that that's just the way the Torah communicates. It can switch back and forth between number, and there's no deep midrash, secret knowledge to be learned from this. Out of curiosity, let's see what Rashi does have to say. So this is Deuteronomy 21:10. So we're going to go down here. Bottom. Rashi. Okay. So it doesn't say anything about it at all, actually. Maybe some of the other commentators do. Okay, so, all right, let's go back to where we were. Okay, so we shavita shivio, okay? So, and you capture its captive, is literally what it says, shivio, its captive, okay? Shivio means it's, so I'm going to say his captive. It's the masculine. So it's the same as this, unitano, okay? Yahweh Elohecha biyadcha v'shavita shivyo. Okay, here God gives one of the enemies, gives the enemy into your hands, and you capture its captive. Okay. Basically, you capture a captive from one of the enemies. Okay. Is obviously what it means. Here they put captives, but it's really not captives. This is singular, okay? Okay, so shvi is a singular, okay? Shivio is its captive. verse 11. Raita b'shivya ish yifator v'hashakta ba v'lakachta lecha leisha. Okay. So you see a eshet ifator. You see a basically a beautiful woman, a woman with yifa. Yafeh is beautiful. Toar is form. Okay. Hashakta ba, and you desire her. And you desire to take her as a wife. Okay. Well, there's so much to say about this. I mean, why would a woman who you have now basically captured in war want to be your wife? I mean, you killed probably all of her family at this point, etc. But women, they still need a family to belong to, right? And so this was I guess, kind of natural for a woman now to look for a new family, and that's going to come from the strong men who took her village or took her city or took her country. Then so be it, right? Okay. והבאת אל תוך ביתך, והבאת אל תוך ביתך, וגידך את ראשה ועשתה את ציפורניה. Okay, so you bring her inside your house. So you want to take her as a wife. You see a beautiful woman, you want to take her as a wife. Okay, you bring her inside her house. Gilcha et rosha, and she shaves her head. Okay, she basically shaves all the hair off her head. Wasta et tzipurneha. Well, there's a couple of different ideas of what that means. I've heard that this means let her nails grow long, or maybe it means cut her nails off. Let's get a little commentary on that. But at any rate, these are mourning rituals. Okay, so it probably means just let her nails grow long. That's the way she shaves all her head off, and she allows her nails to grow long. She does not pare her nails. It might mean she does pare her nails. Let's take a look at that. So these are mourning rituals. Okay. Let's get a little commentary here. Okay, the same epithet is attached to Joseph in Genesis 39, when the captive Hebrew becomes the object of just Egyptian mistresses' lustful gaze. Throughout the ancient Mediterranean world, captive women of vanquished peoples were assumed to be the due sexual prerogative of the victors. Compare Briseus at the beginning of the Iliad. This law exceptionally seeks to provide for the human rights of the woman who falls into this predicament. True. Okay? And take for her yourself as wife. This expression is proleptic, which I have no idea what that word means. Let's look it up. Involving or characterized by prolepsis, the anticipatory use of arguments. The proleptic idiom to be the anticipatory use of arguments. Proleptic idiom to be dead meat uses a present tense description to suggest one's future doom. You are dead meat. Okay. So now let's go back and see what he's talking about. Take yourself as wife. Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay. So what he's saying basically, okay. So it says, and you will take her. So literally what it says here, okay, you desire her, so this is what's called the vav hipuch, the conversive vav, and it changes the past into the future, or you could say the perfect into the imperfect, okay, and really in this case, the past into the future, right? So, so he's saying, well, lakat al-khali isha literally means you will take her as a wife, but I think he's wrong in this case. Okay, this would be best translated as, and you desire to take her as a wife. Okay, because again, the future can express many different moods, and one of the moods it can express is the wish or the desire to do something. So I think actually Robert Alter is correct in this case. If I understand what proleptic is, he's saying it's a phrase in the past or in the present, or no, let's look at it again. Anticipatory use of arguments, adjectives, etc. And his comment is, okay, so I guess I just didn't understand what the word proleptic is. So he's saying the same thing I am. Okay, the victor desiring the woman tends to make her his wife or other concubine, but that intention, as the next two verses clearly indicate, cannot be realized until the end of a 30-day period after he returns home. Okay, so I guess I just didn't understand what proleptic means. It's basically saying the same thing I am. He's saying that these words here mean, and he wishes to take her as a wife. Okay, okay, verse 12. Okay, we already did this one. So this is verse 12. Okay, she shall shave her head and do her nails. It's literally what it says. Okay, so we have here, we're going to read this section. Several of the medieval Hebrew commentators construe this as intended to make her unattractive. That is, her captor, having been smitten with desire when he first saw the beautiful woman, may now have second thoughts about her desirability and change his mind. I remember learning this in Yeshiva. I don't agree with this at all. That's ridiculous. But especially since trimming the nails would scarcely impair her attractiveness, it is more likely that this cutting of excrescences, okay, I assume that means things, extremities growing from the body, I'm not going to look it up, together with the removal of the garment of captivity, is a rite of transition that marks the woman's transition from the daughter of an alien people to a fit mate for an Israelite man. The period of 30 days, the saturation of all mourning for her, keening for the parents she has left behind, is another indication that the law encodes a ritual of transitions. So what he's saying here, let me just read this one more time. So he's rejecting this idea. I reject this as well. Okay, that she's doing this to look ugly for the man. She's paring her nails and cutting her hair. Okay, but then he says that paring the nails does not impair her attractiveness. Correct. So it couldn't be trying to make herself look ugly so that the man will eventually just free her. Okay. So he says it's a rite of transmission that marks the woman's transformation from the daughter of an alien people to a fit mate for an Israelite man. Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, actually. I think what's going on here is, let's just read it. One second. Yeah, we're talking about mourning rituals here. I think these two verses, 12 and 13, are speaking specifically about mourning rituals. Shalom itan avior. Shabbat shalom. So I disagree. If I understand what Robert Alter's saying, he's saying that this is some kind of basically initiation from being a woman of idol worshippers to being a woman that's fit to be a Jewish wife, right? But I don't think that's what's going on here. Okay, so we see eveta el toch betecha. Okay, you bring her into your house. And gilcha et rosha. So she shaves her head. So let's assume that means pare her nails instead of grow her nails long. I also heard the explanation many years ago that means grow her nails long, so she's going to look ugly, right? They'll like curl like a witch's nails or something. Okay, she pares her nails. Okay. We see that it's simlat shivya me'aleha. וישבה בביתך באחתת אביה et imeh yareach yamim. Okay, so she takes her simlat shivya me'aleha, the garment of her captivity. I guess that means the garment that she was wearing when she was caught, right? And then she can sit in your house and mourn her parents for her father and her mother, yareach yamim, for 1 month. Okay, so it seems to be that this is all mourning rituals. Okay, shaving the head we know is a mourning ritual. Okay, astat siponeha. So she pares her nails. Maybe that's the same way as like taking off jewelry, right? She's not gonna have long nails. She's gonna, a woman likes to have long nails, right? We've seen that many. Sometimes it maybe ended up in our tacos or something like that, or in our Subway sandwich, right? A woman's long nails, so she pares her nails, right? That's kind of like not looking attractive. That's not for the sake of turning off her husband, but for the sake of not adorning herself with jewelry, right? These are both mourning rituals. And she takes off the dress in which she was captured, okay? And then she sits and mourns over her mother and her father for 1 month. So I think it's all mourning rituals, and I'm going to have to disagree here with Robert Alter. Let's look at Rabbi Dr. or Dr. Rabbi Hertz. And see what he has to say about that. So we are in which verse are we in? We're in 12. So I've got to find the next page here. Okay, that's always interesting. So that's 835. Now we've got to look for 836. Where'd they hide 836? There it is. I guess they're doing, okay, I think I see what's going on. There is a pattern. Because it's going from, okay, I got it. It's going from left to right. Okay, because the Chumash goes from left to right, so 8. Okay, all right. Anyway, so we're looking for 836. So here's 836. No, that's 837. That's 836. And let's see what we have here. Okay, that's still Haftorah from the previous Parsha. So that's 837. Now we've got to go to. Whoa, that's still the Haftorah. Going. There we go. Okay. So that's 830, 841, huh? So we go to 840. Here we go. Okay. So all right. So the introduction here, I can't highlight, as I said. So I'm just going to read. I'm reading in the left column here. Okay, a female war captive was not to be made a concubine until after an interval of a month. The bitter moments of the captive's first grief had to be respected. She must not subsequently be sold and treated as a slave. Right, goes forth to battle outside Palestine or Israel. So he's saying that's in verse 10. Teitzei milchama al oivecha. Right, and it has to be. How do we know it has to be outside of Israel? Because we saw in the previous chapter of Deuteronomy, with Deuteronomy 20, if you go to war within the land of Israel, meaning against the Canaanites, you kill everybody. You kill the women, so you can't take them as captive. However, if you go to war against nations that are outside of the land of Israel, and in fact, as we said before, if you go to war within Israel, you kill even the animals. Only the trees, and we saw those interesting verses last week, are kept alive. But if you go to war to a nation that's outside of the land of Israel, there's no Torah law that you have to kill all of the inhabitants. So you leave. It says kol zichurcha. We saw that in Deuteronomy 20. So you kill all the males, okay, but you leave the let's look at that for 1 second. So you call out for peace for that city, okay? And then if they answer, then you don't kill any of them. They just become basically a subjugated city, okay? But if you do go to war against them, והכית את כל זכורה לפי חרב, רק אנשים והטף ובהמה וכל אשר יהיה בעיר, כל שללה תבוז לך ואכלת את שלל אויביך אשר נתן יהוה אלוהיך לך. Okay, so you leave the women alive, the women, the babies, and the animals are alive. Okay? And you take them as shalala, you take them as your bounty, as your booty. Okay? As your spoils of war. So you do this to all the cities that are far from you, okay? Very far from you, which are not from these nations, speaking about the Canaanite nations, okay? But these nations that are in the land which God is giving to you as inheritance, you don't leave anything alive. Okay? So this is, again, Hachrem means basically, I'm trying to remember what the standard translation is, but it basically means, Hachrem means like, how do they usually say it in English? 1 second. Destroy, but it's a better word. I can't remember. Okay, so we'll go with Hachrem Tachrimim. You shall completely destroy them. The Hittites and the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. Okay, as Yahweh your God has commanded you. Okay, in order that you don't learn their ways. Okay, so you don't leave anything alive at all. Okay. Except the trees. And then we saw these interesting verses. There was only 3 verses, but it's very interesting, right? You leave the trees alive. Ki ha'adam eitz sadeh lavo mipanecha b'matzor, because is a tree of the field a person that you should come against it in a siege, etc. So we did this last week. All right. So that's why, and very correctly so, Rabbi Dr. Hertz is saying that this is speaking about outside Palestine, he says, right? Outside Israel, verse 10, okay? Because that's the only way you would be able to take captive women. If it's within Israel, within the land we're taking over, the women are killed, okay? Bring her home. This law inculcates thoughtfulness and forbearance under circumstances in which the warrior, elated by victory, might deem himself at liberty to act as he pleased. After the countless rapes of conquered women, with which recent history has made us so painfully familiar, it is like hearing soft music to read of the warrior's duty to the enemy woman, of the necessary marriage with its set ritual and its due delay, and the legislator proceeds to trace the course of the husband's duty in the event of, okay, we don't need a sermon here. I want to look for some facts. Okay, shaved nails. We're down at the bottom here. Rites of purification and renunciation of her former heathendom. So he also agrees with Robert Alter, so as to render herself fit and worthy of acceptance in the fold of Israel. So see Leviticus 19:9. We'll take a look at that. Uncleus translates, she shall suffer her nails to grow. So Uncleus translates it just the opposite. That's the way I'd originally learned it, right? That she doesn't pare her nails. Okay? And he says pare her nails, right? What does he say? Remain in the house, blah, 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 and pare her nails. So he's saying Uncleus, he says pare her nails. Uncleus says let her nails grow. And the rabbis explain the whole procedure as designed to render her unattractive to captor. We already debunked that line of thought. That doesn't make any sense. And I don't think it's a rite of purification and renunciation of a former heathendom. I think it's a mourning ritual. And now I'm determined to find at least one commentator that agrees with me. Okay? Let's see. Hopefully we can rely on the Ibn Ezra. Maybe Ibn Ezra will come to our rescue. Alrighty, here's Ibn Ezra. We are looking at Deuteronomy 21:12. Ibn Ezra is excellent commentator. I really like his stuff, unlike Rashi, who, as you know, I can't stand. Okay, I'll just make it go fast. Some say, I'll read in the English, some say that she shaves her head as he may have desired her because of her hair. We've already kind of debunked that, right? Okay, so he's going with the rabbinical thing that, and he's agreeing with Onkelos that she's growing her nails long, not that she's paring her nails, and so that she's not going to be attractive to this man. Okay. I don't think any of this applies. All right, we're going to go one more time to, let's look at the commentators here. So go to 21:12. Someone's got to be speaking about morning rituals here. Here we go. Thank you. Benson commentary. This was one of the external signs of mourning. She shall pare her nails. This also seems to have been done in mourning. In the original, she shall make her nails, which may be understood of letting her nails grow, which to us seems more suitable to a state of mourning, but this is to be resolved entirely into the fashion of countries. Poole thinks that both of these things were rather to be done in token of her renouncing her heathenish idolatry and superstition and of her becoming a new woman and embracing the true religion. Okay, I disagree with that. Okay. Well, we have the Benson commentary. So let's see one thing here. So we're pointed by Rabbi Hertz to, where was that? Leviticus 14:9. Let's take a look at Leviticus 14:9 for a second. Oops. So Leviticus 14:9 says, okay, so this is speaking about, Sara'at, right? So on the seventh day, they must shave off all of their hair. They must shave their head, their beard, their eyebrows, and the rest of their hair. They must wash their clothes and bathe themselves with water, and they will be clean. Okay, so that's that. So he's relating it to a mourning ritual. To a purification ritual, and I guess that's where he gets his ideas from. Here we have a reference to Leviticus 19:27. Let's take a look at Leviticus 19:27. Oh, okay. Right, so this is relating to mourning rituals. Okay. Take a look at this for a second. Right? So these are all seem to be mourning rituals, okay? By the heathens. Okay, so you don't do these things because this is what the heathens did. Do not cut the hair at the sides of your head or clip off the edges of your beard. Okay, do not cut your bodies for the dead, gash your bodies for the dead, or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord. So these are all understood as mourning rituals. And so he's referencing that as a mourning ritual. Okay, and I agree with that. Leviticus 21:5. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so that's just referring to the Levites also are not supposed to do that, but I don't think it mentions mourning there. Right. must not shave their heads or shave off the edges of their beards or cut their bodies. So here we have clip off the edges of the beard, cut the hair at the sides of your head, and cut their bodies. Well, we know the cutting of the bodies for sure is a mourning ritual, right? I think we can assume it says there. So that's Leviticus 21:5. I wonder if this is also being related to as a mourning ritual. Let's look at that for a second. Leviticus 21:5. See what Robert Alter has to say. Okay, so yes, Robert Alter, and look for Leviticus 21:5 says all these acts are pagan rites of mourning that must be avoided. There are other pagan gestures of mourning as attested for in Ugaritic texts that are permitted to the Israelites, such as putting ashes on the head and donning sackcloth. Presumably, the acts stipulated here are prohibited because they entail disfiguring some part of the body. Exactly, right? So this is all in the context of mourning, which would imply here that in Leviticus it doesn't speak about mourning here. Oh, I'm sorry, it does. Yes. The context is mourning. The priest must not make himself ceremonially unclean for any of his people who die, except for close relatives such as his mother, father, his son or daughter, his brother, or an unmarried sister who is dependent on him, since she has no husband. For her, he may make himself unclean. He must not make himself unclean for people related to them by marriage, and so defile themselves. Priests must not shave their heads or shave off the edges of their beards or cut their bodies. So this is clearly, again, in the context of mourning rituals, right? They must be holy to their God, and they must not profane the name of their God because they present the food offerings to the Lord, the food of their God. They are to be holy, right? So now this again solidifies the idea that these are all mourning rituals. Do not cut the hair at the sides of your head or clip off the edges of your beard. Do not cut your bodies for the dead or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am Yahweh, right? So these all seem to be, if we cross-reference here, okay, we can see that these are all mourning rituals, okay? So therefore, cutting the hair, we see clearly was a mourning ritual. Okay, she shall shave her head. This is one of the external signs of mourning. And we can imply also that paring the nails is also a mourning ritual, right? So there we go. Thank you, Benson commentary. Okay. Alrighty. We go a little bit more, and then I'm going to end the study for today. Okay, we read that already. Visira et simlat shivya me'aleha, and you take away her, as I understand this. So again, there's going to be all kinds of commentaries, but I understand this. I actually agree again with this Benson commentary here. Okay, that what he says here is that is, as the French renders the word more clearly, the raiment which she wore when she was taken captive. Exactly, right? So she's now going into, she doesn't have to wear this. She's going into a state of mourning, okay? Instead of the fine clothes wherein she had been taken captive, she was put on sordid apparel, which was the habit of the mourners. And she shall bewail her father and mother, either their death or, which was in effect the same, her final separation from them, being now to forget all her former relations, right? Well, I think it's talking about death. Maybe also separation. So that's kind of a mourning as well. But at any rate, so she's taking off the clothes in which she was taken captive, and now this Benson commentary says putting on sordid apparel, or just like kind of mourning gear. I guess that makes sense. I would say something more like she's taking off these clothes and putting on something comfortable so she can mourn while she's comfortable. But then again, people mourn by putting by putting on sackcloth, right? So maybe he's right about that. I think that maybe he is right, actually. Okay. Now, by contrast, the Barnes notes on the Bible again goes with this customary sign of purification, and the putting away of the garment of captivity were designed to signify the transition. So we have this whole thing. I don't agree with that. I agree with the Benson. Okay, that this is all mourning. She's mourning for her parents. Okay, for 1 month. So the context here is mourning rituals. Okay, v'harken tavo eleha wa u bi'alta wa'ita lecha leisha, and afterwards you should come to her, and you shall take her as a wife, be your husband. Wa'ita lecha leisha, and she shall be for you as a wife. Okay, again showing that there's no formal conversion for women. The way women become part of Israel is they marry an Israelite man. That's what happened with Ruth. Ruth became an Israelite when she married Boaz. Okay? Aya im lo hafatzta ba wa shilachta lenafsha machor lo timkarena bachesef bakasef lo tit amer ba tachat asher inita. Okay? And if after this mourning period of 30 days you don't like her, then you send her on her way. Okay? But you can't sell her. You can't sell her as a slave. Okay? You're not allowed to titamer. Let's look that up for a second. So that only, let's see. This is from Omer. To bind sheaves. Okay, from the word Omer, which is a sheaf. Okay. But in this context, it's only used, it looks like, really, I guess, twice. So I'm not sure we're getting the idea that you shall mistreat her. Well, let's see what the BDB says. Mar hitamer wahitamer. Deal tyrannically with. Okay, we'll go with that. Okay, we're gonna go with that. So you shall not deal tyrannically with her, because you have what's the word? Inita. Here they say humbled, but you have oppressed. You have, what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, we'll go with oppressed or mistreated her, or you know, humbled her, mistreated her. The anot from the word ani, to make her downtrodden or poor, right? So because you have oppressed her. Let's go with oppressed. Okay. So if you don't want her, so you have to give her 30 days to mourn. Okay. Then you can take her as a wife, and if you decide you don't want her at that point, then you can send her away. You can't sell her for money because you have you can't treat her brutally because you have already oppressed her. You've already humbled her. Okay, so that's the idea. So even a captive woman is to be treated. Yes, captive women were taken, but as a number of the commentators point out, they're not treated brutally. They're treated very, very kindly. They're given time to mourn, and if you don't want them, then you send them away. So that's something you won't find in any of the other ancient codes of law, all the way that war was carried out in practice. Okay, maybe what I'm going to do at this point is just try to read through to the rest of the parsha, or at least some of it. Okay, and then we are going to end. So, ti'ena leish shtei nashim. כי תהיינה לאיש שתי נשים, האחת אהובה והאחת שנואה, נולדו לו בנים, האהובה והשנואה, והיה הבן הבכור לשנואה, והיה ביום הנחילו את בניו אשר יהיה לו, לא יוכל לבקר את בן האהובה על פני בן השנואה הבכור. כי את הבכור בן השנואה יכיר לתת לו פי שניים מכל אשר ימצא לו, כי הוא ראשית עונו, לא משפט הבכורה. כי יהיה לאיש בן סורר ומורה, איננו שומע בקול אביו ובקול אמו, ויסרו אותו ולא ישמע עליהם. ותפסה בו אביו ואמו והוציאו אותו אל זקני עירו ואל שאר מקומו. ואמרו אל זקני עירו, בנינו זה סורר ומורה, איננו שומע בקולנו, זולל וסובא. ורמוהו כל אנשי עירו באבנים ומת, וארת הרע מקרבך, וכל ישראל ישמעו ויראו. Let's take a look at some commentary on that. That's always an interesting one. The Ben Sorer Umore. So this is 18. Let's read what Robert Alter has to say here. Oops. Okay. Okay. Well, it doesn't say anything actually. Here it does. The sternness of this law. I don't like highlighting it. I'll just highlight the beginning of where I'm reading. The sternness of this law surpasses that of ancient Near Eastern analogues, which variously punish the refractory son with public shaming, imprisonment, or disinheritance. The rabbis were sufficiently uncomfortable with this law to virtually disallow it. Thus, the Babylonian Talmud, the wayward and rebellious son, never existed and never will exist. And why is it written? To say, inquire, and receive the reward, i.e., for strictly didactic purposes, Sanhedrin 71a, it should be noted that the whole community, presumably after judicial proceedings, takes part in the execution, and in this instance, the hand of the witness, the parents, is not first against the condemned, so justice is transferred from paternal authority to the community. Okay, interesting. Glutton and a drunk, this designation is a clear indication that the carousing, rebellious son is an adult. That's a good point, actually. Okay. All right. וכי יהיה באיש חטא משפט מוות, והומות ותלית אותו על עץ. לא תלין נבלתו על העץ, כי קבור תקברנו ביום ההוא, כי קהילת, yeah, in about 5 minutes. Okay. כי קהילת אלוהים תלוי, ולא תטמא את אדמתך אשר יהוה אלוהיך נותן לך נחלה. So you just don't leave a dead body hanging around, okay? Or how about crucifixion, right? You don't do that kind of thing. I'm going to guess this reference in the New Testament is something having to do with crucifixion. Oh boy, I'm not going to read Greek. The heck did that happen? Let's try that one more time. So it's referring us to the New Testament, and I am not a Christian in any way, shape, or form, but I'm just curious to see what this reference is. Galatians 3:10. Okay, so really just doesn't have anything to do with that, just some reference to Jesus. Okay, we'll get a little commentary on that, and then I'm going to finish up the study, okay? So, hang him on a tree. One modern view with an eye to Syrian practice understands this as impalement on a pole or gibbet, though the Mishnah has in view hanging the corpse to a kind of cross after the execution. Tree, one might recall in older English usage, can refer to either gallows or to the cross, okay? A hanged man is God's curse. The meaning of these words is in dispute, especially because of the polyvalence of Elohim, God, God's divine being spirit. Some modern commentators prefer the last of these alternatives, yielding the sense a corpse left hanging is a curse or blight to the departed spirit that once inhabited it. This suggestion, however, does not jibe well with "you shall not pollute your soil," a clause suggesting that a corpse left unburied is a violation of the sacredness of the human body, a violation that pollutes the land. That's exactly what I agree there, right? Just leaving a dead body hanging around that pollutes the land. Okay. In this connection, compare Antigone. To leave a body hanging then may simply be a disgrace or curse in the eyes of God. That's exactly the way I understand it. Alternatively, Elohim might be simply a suffix of intensification. A hangman is a supreme curse. No, I don't agree with that. So, Kiklat Elohim talui velo so it's just to leave a dead body hanging around somehow pollutes the land. So don't do that. Bury it. Okay, you don't leave dead bodies hanging around. I don't mean pollute physically, although that might also happen, but pollute spiritually, right? Defiles the land. Alrighty, I think we're going to end here. And I hope you enjoyed the study. We'll try to pick it up again next week. And in the meantime, I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom and a Shavua Tov.